Hello and welcome to the DC Stewart Show Podcast. I'm your host, Derek Stewart, along with my kinfolk, Isaiah. My other kinfolk, Najee, he's away on assignment, so he was not able to join us tonight. But however, me and Isaiah, we would actually cover the NBA draft today, which it starts right now in Brooklyn, New York. Um, this is actually my first NBA draft, fully looking at it, because I always watch the NFL draft, so a little bit more inclined into the NFL than I am the NBA. But we have to start somewhere. So we're glad to have you aboard as the viewer. We appreciate you. We appreciate your comments, and we appreciate everything done for us because at the end of the day, you is what matter to us. You, the viewer, is what matter to us. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to us on YouTube because our community is growing on YouTube and we're ecstatic about it. We have over 150,000 views, and we're just loving what we're doing. We're happy, and we'll keep bringing you the best content that we have available, real time content as well as content that we have current events. So this NBA draft should be exciting because the first and second picks are kind of like, a lot of mock drafts have covered those picks. So, the most of the people who are looking at this draft kind of got an idea that Cooper Flagg is going to be number one, but that remains to be seen because Dallas is currently on the clock. I want to take a few seconds and actually have a moment of silence for Coach Prime, Deion Sanders. He means the world to us over at this show. I've been covering Deion since the 80s. Isaiah has been covering Deion since the 80s.
Yeah.
Hope he can get well soon because he means a lot to the college football world as well as his family and as well as to people like us because we appreciate what he's doing for the community and for young men and making them into responsible young men. So in the meantime, I want to introduce you my co-host, the one and only and the kinfolk, Isaiah. Talk to me, Isaiah. What's going on?
Hey man, what a magnificent night this is. The night to see these guys who playing college football, I mean basketball, and to catapult over to professional, man. This is just something that these kids work from the moment they, start into grade school and their dreams and aspirations start to, flourishing and to come true. And this is a big stage, man. Whenever you think a kid grow up playing on the streets and playing on the playground and their parents putting all this time in, taking them to these camps, every year and to endure all the harsh seasons and now all of it is coming true. All the dreams are coming true. So man, I'm just lucky to be here covering this thing tonight with my partner and I've been knowing you forever and to
Absolutely.
see, this from the night and I just feel grateful to be able to spend this moment tonight to watch these guys become millionaires because that's exactly what's getting ready to happen. You up, threading on thin ice, and now you're a millionaire. So this is the beautiful times for all these kids to see their dreams come true. Yeah,
Absolutely. You couldn't have said it any better because if you think about it, you have an 18-year-old and a 19-year-old who are going to be instant millionaires within the next few minutes. I mean, just think about that. How it's hard for me to even conceive thinking about absorbing something like that. But look, last night I went to sleep. Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper, they're set anyway. I mean, you look at these guys' NIL contracts, there's nothing even
hmm
close to them. So they're already multimillionaires. They're already
yeah,
rich.
that's the new aspect of
It's going to come to fruition tonight of their lifelong dreams. And their lifelong dreams is what really matters to these young men. They prepare for this from early childhood, some of them. I'm not saying all of them, but from early childhood, they prepare for this. Their parents prep them for this. Their parents set them on the right course and on the right track toward getting to this point in time. And I'm really happy for these young men that's going to be drafted tonight. Cooper Flagg,
yeah.
he'll make history tonight because he's just one of the many great Duke players to go number one. I mean, there's been Duke
Mhm.
players in the past that it went number one. But from what I've observed from Cooper Flagg and what makes him unique to me from all of the other candidates that I've actually seen or draftees, should I say, Cooper Flagg is just so freaking athletic. I mean, he is athletic to the point where, I mean, the guy is just on the sky constantly. I mean, he's going to the basket, he's imposing his will, he's driving in, he's dunking constantly, but don't get it twisted because he could shoot from the outside. So for Dallas to be able to take him in and develop him into an all-star power forward, which he's going to be. He can play forward or power forward, either one. Actually, he's 6'9", and I think even in some instances they could put him into the rotation where he could play center. If Jason Kidd wants a small, he wants a small team on the floor, more of a quicker team.
Yeah.
He could actually set that up where Cooper Flagg can play center, and while Anthony Davis, God hope he comes back because with his health been the way it is over the last few years, Cooper Flagg is going to be a perfect fit for the Dallas Mavericks. Now, the Dallas Mavericks, a couple of months ago, they got rid of Luka, and that really sent the city of Dallas and all of the Dallas faithful into a tailspin because nobody ever conceived that was going to happen, where Luka, which was a hometown hero, a favorite, technically, he was a fan favorite most of all, and then for that to happen where Anthony Davis gets swapped out for Luka, it's just still, to me, to this day, kind of like I was shocked, and I'm still somewhat shocked. So Isaah, help me understand, because I know Cooper Flagg has been a superstar since he's been in high school. I mean, he was a 5-star blue chipper in high school. He got to Duke, and he just took it to the next level. And going into this, I'm going to name off a few greats that came out of Duke. But what do you think? What do you think Cooper Flagg's success is going to hinge on with the Dallas Mavericks?
Well, I tell you, man, I spoke about this earlier, how these guys put that time in, man. Whenever you become that good, you start out as a 6 or 7 year old guy, a kid rather, at that point where you're going to the neighborhood playground and your parents support you, and you're going in these little camps every year. And then all of a sudden, man, you start to develop all of these intangibles from different camps as a little child. And then boom, you start to get that 13, 14, 15 years old when you start going through puberty, you start growing hairs under your arms, and all of this talent just freaking just embodies inside of you, man. And then there it is. You become a professional, and that's what it is, man. That's why you somehow think that, oh wow, this guy is just coming out of high school. He's able to play professional basketball or football. Of course, yeah, because they've been doing it all their life. When you think about a kid that's 7 years old and now he's 19, you're talking about a kid who's been doing it somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 years old, where you're doing the same thing every day. You're doing the same, you're dribbling the ball, you're taking it out, you're spending these times where your mom really wants you to come in and do your homework. You go in there and do your homework, and you go right back out there to the playground and you start sharpening up your skills. So when you get 19, 20 years old, you actually are a professional. So this is what's going to happen with this kid, man. He's getting ready to get drafted high. And like you say, he's coming out of Duke, and Duke has always had good players because Duke is a basketball school. I mean, I love their football stuff too, but it's really chained in on basketball. So I guess he just got picked. DC, they just picked him.
Dallas
Silver
just
just picked him.
selected
So
Cooper Flagg.
yeah, yeah.
Dallas won the lottery.
Yeah,
I
man.
said all along.
I knew you were gonna get him. Of course, man. Boy, oh boy. This is what we're kids dream of, man. The first round, you just sign that dotted line and boom, instant millionaire. It's one thing to get the NIL contracts too when you're in college, but it's nothing like getting to college from a sports team, because then you solidified all the time that you were growing up, and you put that time in, and now you're a professional. See, the NIL contract, you still actually a rookie. You're not just a rookie. You're an amateur. Now you're a professional. You got all the money, the accolades, and the professionalism drop right in your lap in this one night. And so, man, I'm proud of this kid, man.
I am
Now we're
too.
gonna see how Dallas build on this team now. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now he's walking to the podium to speak now.
You got to give his parents a lot of credit. I mean, a lot of times the
Yeah, of
parents
course.
are left
Of
out,
course.
but you got to take your hat off for his mom and his dad and their support for him constantly on up to where he is now. He has them to thank for everything from the position that he's in now because if it wasn't for his parents, he who knows where he would be. He could be somewhere
Well,
in another
that's
place, but to be the first
That's your
pick
number
in the
one support
NBA,
system. That's your number one support system with your
exactly.
parents. I mean, no matter what, that's your number one support system. And not only that, I'm just judging when I was a kid and I used to play sports, football and track and all that. Man, it was nothing like when you see your parents in the stands watching you and cheering you on. Man, that's so gratifying for you to have that support system from your parents, no matter how good your friends and your other folks and your colleagues and your teammates glorify you when you're playing well, but to see your parents loving and enjoying what you're doing and knowing that it all started from them, that's the
Yeah.
most gratifying part of it. And to share all of this stuff with your parents once you become, a professional.
Oh yeah. This is a special moment because he was sitting at the table with his parents. I know his heart was beating because there's never any guarantee that you will be the first pick, although most people,
Yeah.
99.9%, knew he was going to be the first pick. But it is that
Yeah.
butterfly in your stomach, and he's actually speaking with his family now. He's got a beautiful family
Mhm.
up on the stage.
Yeah.
And, that 99.9%, but that half a percent or a percent that could be different because I know in NFL it's a little bit more trickier than the NBA, generally speaking. Because
Yeah.
I don't have a
Mhm.
very detailed background like Najee does with the NBA. However, I do know with the NFL, it's like a seesaw. Like who knows? We thought
Oh yeah,
Travis
of
Hunter
course it
was going
is.
to go first, but it
Yeah.
ended up being
Hmm.
Cam Ward, or we thought
Yeah.
Shador Sanders was going to be second or first, second, and third pick, and it ended up
Yeah,
being
but that's
Cam
just
Ward and
another
Travis
story when it
Hunter.
comes to yeah. When it comes to
Well,
the Sanders brother, that was a whole different another thing. That just was an unorthodox draft that year. This year, it was
exactly.
just an unorthodox draft.
So, Isaiah, I think this saved Nico Harrison's job because Nico Harrison they were hanging him out to dry, man, because of that trade that Luca ended up
Oh
leaving.
man,
And the
yeah,
fans just didn't have any kind of understanding of that to the sense that why would you get rid of the star of the team? And I'm not taking any credit away from Anthony Davis because Anthony Davis has been a dominant player for so long in the NBA, but it just to me, it just seemed to me to be a very odd swap because technically both teams swapped. However, I think the Lakers got the best of it. You said in the past shows that the Lakers got
yeah,
the best of that trade. And
yeah,
Dallas was kind of left hanging, and then Kyrie got injured. So once Kyrie got injured, it even made it look worse, or even worse, sir, because think about it. I mean, now
yeah,
who are you going to go to? I mean, Jason Kidd can coach, but he has to have the talent to coach, right? So if Anthony
yeah.
Davis and Kyrie is injured, you got to have someone that's going to be solid that you can have in there, and that's where Cooper Flagg he's gonna slot right in. I see
He's
him
gonna
as
fill that void.
I see him as
He's
the
definitely
first.
gonna fill that void. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I see him as the first
Looking
team
hindsight
starter
on
when
this
it starts
DC.
next season.
Yeah, yeah, but looking hindsight on this DC, it could have all been a strategic move for them to do this, man. Because look at what happened. Look at who they just picked up. Every little puzzle, or piece of that puzzle has been filled right now.
Right.
We thought the Lakers got the best of that deal, but now if they plug Cooper Flagg in there and he do exactly what he was doing in college, it's going to look like a genius move from the head coach and the organization and the
For
GM.
sure.
It's going to look like a freaking genius move.
It
So
will.
we'll see how this thing, come to fruition during the season next year with this beautiful pick they just embarked on.
Like I just
Yeah.
said, it takes a lot of pressure off of Nico Harrison.
Yeah,
Because like
of
I said,
course it
Nico
does.
Harrison, man, they wanted his hide. They wanted his hide. They wanted to hang him out and string him up, basically. And now it looks much better for the franchise because now they got this young phenom that's going to come in, immediately contribute. I mean, he's not going to be sitting on a bench waiting to contribute. He's going to be immediately, he'll be able to contribute to the team. And when Kyrie Irving comes back and when Anthony Davis comes back, they'll be able to put a very formidable team on the floor. So let me go over some of Cooper Flagg's stats here. It looks like
let's do it.
He averaged 19 points a game, 7 rebounds, a little bit. Let's just say 8 rebounds a game because it's got him at 7.5. He averages 4 assists per game, 1.4 steal, and 1.4 blocks. Shot 39% from the three-point line on 135 attempts. But, here's what's crazy. He led Duke in all 5 statistical
categories. Yeah.
No freshman has done that since the stat was tracked. So that puts him in another bracket all alone,
Yeah.
And I think
of course. Yes.
It's really important that we actually put that out there for people to see because he's unique, and it looks like the second pick is in, and it looks like San Antonio.
Dylan Harper. Pick up Dylan Harper.
Rutgers.
Yeah.
He's a guard, and Dylan Harper is going to be an instant contributor to San Antonio along with Wemby. I think San Antonio has a young team, and it's going to take them a little bit of time. Looks like Greg Popovich, Pop, he's no longer coaching the team. He's going into the front office, but they will be able to put a competitive team on the floor with Dylan Harper. So the first 2 picks, Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper, was actually in all of the mock drafts coming out up until this time. So my thing is, a lot of these players now are interchangeable too. In other words, what I mean by interchangeable, Cooper Flagg can play multiple positions.
Several positions, yeah.
Dylan Harper is going to be able to. They're going to be able to rotate him around as well because he kind of reminds me of, kind of like he's fast. He can get up court. You can compare him to some
of the
guards in the NBA right now.
Think
about that. So it's going to be really crucial for San Antonio for the franchise's survival to have a young stud of a guard like Dylan Harper coming in, and that's just the ultimate right there, and it looks like here, let's talk a little bit about the Portland Trail Blazers because it looks like the Portland Trail Blazers is probably
next.
Take Ace Bailey. Ace Bailey is a guard out of Rutgers. Well, he's a forward. I'll take that back. He's a forward out of Rutgers. He's an explosive scorer, 18.5 points a game. So for Ace Bailey to be able to come up and be able to go to Portland Trail Blazers, that's going to be really, really important for Portland. Now, Portland just ended up receiving Drew Holiday through a trade from Boston. So Portland's got a young, fast team too, and they're going to be competitive in the West. But so many good teams out there. You tell me, Isaiah, the NBA is just so many really talented teams with a talent level that's on the floor.
Yeah.
These teams, 30 years ago when we were, in the 80s and the 90s, you had 1 player or 2 players, and that was it.
Yeah.
These were floor general players. I'll mention the Magic Johnson, and I'll mention, the Allen Iverson, and Isaiah Thomason. But now you look at some of these teams and who they lining up on the floor, you got 3 or 4 guys that could really.
You actually got to have at least 3 guys to be competitive. You got to have 3 superstars on your team to be competitive. If you have 2, you're not even making it to the playoffs. That's how good these players are right now, man. And not only that, even if you got a crappy team, you could turn around a team in a matter of one night's trade. You could trade for a couple of people, and your team could be 500, and all of and turn around and you can make it to the playoff and perhaps go win a championships over a night of trading. So it just goes to prove how talented these kids are. They're so enormously talented where they can play so many positions. I've never seen that, years ago where, a player would get drafted and that's all he would play is that one position. If he's a guard, he's just going to play guard. And back in the day, they might trade off a forward for a center every now and then. But that was it, man. But these guys can play 3 or 4 positions, man. If somebody goes down, you just slide him right in there and he can play that position. So it's cool to see all of this movement around, man. And I love it. I just love it to death, man, to see how talented these guys are, man. And they getting compensated for it too, though.
It was alleged that Cooper Flagg is probably going to get something in the range of $63 million for a rookie. And set a new precedent as well, because
love it, man. Love to see these kids get paid.
Yeah. I believe that most rookies in the NBA generally start somewhere around 12, 13, $14 million. But if this kid's going to come in and he's going to be able to command that type of contract, I mean, that sets a new precedent as well, don't you think?
Yeah.
Because
yeah, I love it, man. Because it was always this thing where the owners was making all this money, the franchise was making all this money, but now these kids are getting paid, man. It's just one contract to set you up generations, man, and I love it. I love to see that. Just not one group of people stacking in the dough. Now these players are getting compensated the way they should be, with endorsements along with their salary.
And as the NBA grows and gets bigger contracts and they keep expanding around the world, these contracts are only going to mushroom, get bigger.
Get bigger, yeah.
Bigger.
Yeah.
Especially with veterans and, the market value of a veteran that's been in the league for 5 or 6 years and they want a max contract and they'll be able to meet some of the criteria for a total max contract. Somebody's going to give them the money. Somebody is going to give them the bag.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to get the bag because that's going to be going rate. I mean, think about it. So looking at
DC, it's just like when we were talking about Durant leaving the other day, going over to Houston. People was thinking Durant is got his feet on a banana peel, getting ready to slip out the league, and all of a sudden, here it is. He bounced around, he came down with the Heat, and I just swore Pat Riley was going to secure that, position for him to come here. But all of a sudden, he went over to Houston, and Houston gave him exactly what he wanted. So, man, that goes to prove what you're saying holds true. Somebody's going to pay him. Somebody's going to hire him. Somebody's going to put him on their organization because they got a position for him. They got a scheme for him to fit in. So I just felt bad that we couldn't get him because we've been trying to get him for, several times. We missed out on getting Durant to bring him down to Miami.
So tell me this, Isaiah. Do you think Miami's going to be able to pick up a good player tonight in the draft if they actually draft? I don't know what draft position.
Man, we surely need some good players to kick this thing off again, man. Our team has been on a slump, so we really need some new energy here in Miami, man. I mean, lose Butler last year, and it was a little sour moment for us, and then he went out to LA, and we need to get some new blood in there, and we need to bring somebody in there who's really exciting to bring the city back, because when Wade and Bosh and Shaq then was here, it was on fire down in South Florida. So I need our organization to do something similar to bring some exciting player that's going to be here for a while, not just pop in for a couple of years and want to go out to LA to be in movies. So I hope they're working on it, man. Yes. Yep. He got a taste of that movie thing, and then he started acting up.
So it looks like the Philadelphia 76ers just picked DJ Edgecombe. I was under the assumption that Ace Bailey, because a lot of mock drafts had Ace Bailey going at number 3. But that goes back to what we just talked about a few minutes ago, that, look, it's a season type of thing, and teams, they make
you never know what it's going to
last second. I mean, it depends on
Mm-hmm.
if a team is really solidly made up their mind, they know who they're going to pick, that their card is going to come in. Their draft card is going to be come in, and they're going to be able to pick who they want. But then you have these guys on wheeling and dealing, and they're wheeling and dealing all the way up to the last second of their clock time to try to pick the
Yes.
type of player that they want, or they to fill a need on their team. That you know, look, Ace Bailey, he's still on the board, and it looks like Edge come right off the board. So that goes to show you that all mock drafts is just more of a kind of a it's a predictability, but it's not a predictability where certain people predict certain things, and it just doesn't always work out that way. I think
Yeah.
that what happened with what happened with this third pick is I want to say Philadelphia traded up because it looks like here uh, it was looking like Portland was going to be picking number three. So it looks like the next pick up on the clock right now is going to be the Charlotte Hornets. And I'm actually watching it on flat screen TV right now.
Yeah, yeah. Charlotte got a lot of work to do over there too.
They do.
They in
They
their
do.
rebuild stage too, man. They just like the Miami Heat. They got a lot of work to do, man. To turn their team around as well. They got to put a lot of pieces in that puzzle. Yeah.
They do. I mean, it's just the biggest thing is putting the pieces of the puzzle together can be the most challenging piece of it because you might think something may work or a player may be an excellent fit, and sometimes that doesn't always unfold like that. Um,
Hmm.
I could think back to some of the flops, or should I say, some of the busts that became number one picks in the
Yeah.
NBA as well as the
I
NFL, but we're
guess.
talking about the
Yeah.
NBA.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's unfortunate when you see a player play so good in college and then all of a sudden, they reach the professional and then they don't turn out. But you know what? That happens because it's certain reasons why that happened, DC. You can get a player who play in college in a certain way, and then they change the scheme of his talent level, and they don't put them in the right positions, and then they don't flourish. It ain't all about the player not being able to make it. It's that scheme of how you coach that kid to make
you're
them
right.
flourish. You put them in the right position, and they might pan out. But if you put them in a terrible position, they may not work out. I mean,
That's true.
just think about a good quarterback, for instance. You get a quarterback that's a drop back passer, and all of a sudden you got plays where it's designed for the running back and the tight end and to do hitch passes. You don't get the best out of that quarterback. So
Mhm.
that's the same thing happening in basketball. You got to put them in the right positions to make them flourish and
That's
grow
true.
as a professional.
And a lot of that you are so true because a lot of that is based on the stability of the franchise, the general manager, how they go about handling their business, and then the coach. I mean, it comes out. You look
Yeah.
at. I mean, look at
Yeah.
Jason Kidd, what he's inherited,
Hmm.
and at
Yeah.
Dallas. I mean, Jason Kidd is going to
Yeah.
be able to coach that kid, and he's going to be able to coach the rest of those players. And Jason Kidd's name actually surfaced for that New York job, but Dallas immediately shut it down. Look, you're not gonna get Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd's not leaving Dallas to go to New York. And that name came up. Now another name with New York is surfaced is Mark Jackson. And think about Mark Jackson, what he possibly
I
could
just don't understand that with Mark
have been
Jackson, man.
passed over and passed
I
over and
really
passed
don't
over.
understand that. He was the phenomenal coach, and all of a sudden, he get pushed out and nobody pick him up. I've never seen that before, man. Usually, when a good coach like that he leaves, before the night is out, he has another job. Just think about when Doc Rivers, you and I and Najee talked about this thing with Doc Rivers. Every time Doc Rivers gets fired, before the night is out, he's got another job. So I couldn't understand that thing with Mark, man. Mark Jackson.
Yeah, and Mark Jackson has really turned a lot of franchises around. He turned Golden State around, and then Steve Kerr
Yep,
came in and took
absolutely.
it to the next level,
Absolutely.
right? I mean, Steve Kerr
Yep,
is
yep.
a damn good coach, but what he did is he just
But
parlayed
he
on that
inherited
already
a
talented
dynasty.
team and
Yes, it was
took it
already
to the next
all he
level.
had to do was maintain it.
Yeah,
Yep.
because I think if Mark Jackson would have stayed, I think Golden State would have won at least one championship. I couldn't guarantee beyond that because he had the talent to win multiple championships, but it looks as though he got cut short. And for whatever reason, the owner wanted to cut him short, which I thought was very unfair at the time because I think if you got
Yeah,
a
Charlotte is up
guy
now.
that builds a franchise into a very good team like Mark Jackson did, and then you cut him short, I just think that's very unfair. But life is not fair in a lot of cases. So
Yeah.
you look at a lot of players and first picks, and I just pulled up a list of first picks that were considered busts. The main name that stuck out to me was Greg Oden. I don't know whether you remember Greg Oden. Greg Oden played at Ohio State.
Yeah, of course I do.
Super talented guy. I mean, super talented player. If you watched him in college, you was just gonna be you was just guaranteed to know that he was definitely gonna make it in the NBA. And then he just didn't measure up. He didn't out at the NBA level for whatever reason because there's no guarantee that if you play through high school into college that you're gonna make it at that level. And that's
one thing about him, DC, he had endured several injuries, and then he wouldn't maintain his weight. His weight was fluctuating, man. He got big as a house,
right?
man. Yes, he was. He was huge, man. I mean, he looked like he was just eating a dozen biscuits every morning because he just blew up like a helium balloon, man. And then all of a sudden he started, enduring a bunch of injuries. And next thing you know, boom, he's out of the league, man. But, they were at least patient with him because he was so talented in college. So he bounced around to a couple teams before finally they got rid of him and nobody, didn't want him anymore because they seen he's just not panning out. But, bro, he was amazing in college. Yeah.
Yes.
So he's one of those busts you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's like it's been a list of them. Purvis Ellison was another one. You remember Never Nervous Purvis? Never Nervous Purvis Ellison came out of University of Kentucky. Super damn good player at Kentucky. He got to Sacramento. His injuries and a lot of the inconsistencies surfaced, and he was another one that didn't make it to. He didn't do as well in the NBA as most experts had predicted he would do. He had the height to be the best he could be, but he just didn't. He just didn't get there, and that's what happens at the professional level. The ones you don't think is going to make it, they make it. They come in and they do things. And they
Charlotte just picked
plate, because they maybe they hungrier, right? I mean, if you think about it,
you gotta be,
think
man.
about a player that didn't even get drafted. Like, for example, I'm going to go back to the NFL, even though we're talking about NBA. But look at Prime's son, Coach Prime. You had Shiloh Sanders. I mean, Shiloh got a chip on his shoulder. And a lot of young players like that, they have chips on their shoulder. Look, you didn't take me. You left me. You didn't take me.
That's something. Yeah, but that's another story, DC. He was, it's one thing to not have the talent to be drafted. He actually had the talent to be drafted. And from what I could see right now, he's just showing his rear end in camp. And that's what he's got to do, man, because one thing about it, if you have a team that went out their way to pick you up, even though you didn't get drafted, and they give you the opportunity, you really got to put out, man. You really got to put out because ultimately, if you get cut, somebody else will see that, wow, we can't use him, but another team can get him because they realize that he's good enough to play professional football. So I think he's going to work out, man. I really do because I watched him play from the moment he got into, Jackson State, and I watch how aggressive he is. He played Dion's position, but Dion wouldn't hit you. But Shiloh would knock the crap out of you, man. I've seen him come up and strike you.
He brings the heat.
He gonna jump on your back or something, but Shiloh would throw them shoulders and their head into you, man. He'll bring fire with fire. Yep.
And a lot of players they use leverage. They use their body weight and their leverage to get an upper hand on an opponent when it comes to any type of sport. If you can leverage yourself in a way where you can keep that opponent at a disadvantage, and that goes for basketball too. Because if you think about a lot of the players,
very smart.
when they're playing in the paint, especially, I mean, they're trying to gain position like a center or a forward, and
Mhm.
they basically just positioning themselves to be able to overtake the opponent, the defender, of course, and that's
Yeah.
the thing about it.
Mhm.
It looks as though Charlotte just took a Duke guard, I believe. Let's see,
Yeah.
on Tipple, and I hope I pronounced his name right because I hate pronouncing, folks' names.
The Heat's coming up now. The Heat's got number 20.
Yeah. So right now it looks as though Utah is on the clock, right? Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Utah is on the clock right now.
Yeah, it looks like Utah is on the clock, and basically, let's go here because I'm looking at some of the numbers from some of these players, these first 5 picks. So really, the top 10 picks is kind of like falling in order, with the exception of one or two. You know, with the exception of one or two players, it wasn't mock draft in the position they're in. I still want to say Ace Bailey. It looks like he's the best on the board right now, number one. And Trey Johnson, who's a guard out of Texas, according to this, is they're the best players on the board if a team has those needs to take, and then you got another French player. I'm looking here, Noah Esting. Looks like France is just kicking them out, man. They doling out good players out of France because France
Yeah.
they
Yeah. Basketball has become international, man.
it is
They
super
getting good
big.
players from all over the world that's
France,
coming in now.
yep,
Yeah.
France and Japan and China and places like that. Even
Hmm.
Taiwan, because
Yep.
I was telling you, Dwight Howard played professional basketball in Taiwan.
Yeah.
I think he's in the Big Three league right now. So Ace Bailey, they just panning to him. He's still sitting and waiting, and he should be off the board, I would think, in the next few picks, if not this pick right now, because it looks like Utah is on the clock right now at the number 5 pick. Utah is smart; they will probably go with him since he's the best player on the board. I think what has happened in college sports, especially with NIL now, this thing is really getting ready to get interesting to me because if you look, the schools now are going to be paying the players. The first initial NIL arrangement was the players could negotiate contracts with, marketers and people who actually wanted them to promote their products. But now these players, according to Congress, and Congress just approved the particular legislation to allow the schools to pay the players. What do you think about that?
Long time. They should have done this 50 years ago, man. Some of these kids can barely eat, outside of, eating lunch for if you got a full ride scholarship. I remember when I was in college, my parents had to shuffle money to me all the time. And for
Absolutely.
you to be out there getting bruised and bumped up for a school and you don't get anything for it, and these guys making billions of dollars every year, it's worthy of it. I was so pleased when that NIL stuff started swinging around here because you can't even take your girlfriend out to the movies or on a date when
Oh,
you're in
heck
college
no.
because you, yeah. So that's why I'm loving it, man. I mean, it was, some of these coaches don't like it because they want the kids to remain broke, especially when you only coach out of fear. And some of these coaches coach out of fear, it's claiming, oh, you don't do this on a bench, you ain't gonna go to professional. Man, get out of here.
Yeah.
But
Well, they
these
can't. A
kids are
lot of
getting
coaches
paid
can't
now.
use that
They're
leverage
getting
anymore.
millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what has
So,
happened
so this is
is,
second kid that gotten drafted
yeah,
from
it looks like
Rutgers
Ace
now.
Bailey just got drafted by
They
Utah.
just got picked.
And
Yeah.
this is a great pick for
Yeah.
Utah, I think, because he's going to bring
Yeah.
that much needed guard play to Utah, make them be able to. I mean, because Utah over the years, if you notice that they've traded a lot of their good players off. I mean,
They're
Donovan
just
Mitchell,
rocking
the
that
last
jacket.
player that I knew played at Utah. And if you think about it, Donovan Mitchell, he was able to work his way out of there and get to Cleveland, which Cleveland is a top-notch competitor in the East now. Utah has got to really
Yeah,
step up and step up their roster because and having a kid like Ace Bailey will be able to help them with that. Now, I
he's a
think
banger too, man.
absolutely.
He's a banger,
Think back
man.
to the time that Karl Malone and John Stockton and Thurl Bailey and all those guys were at Utah, and they were playing top notch basketball back then,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah, those guys was rugged, man. They used to bang it in there, and Karl Malone come around with those elbows, and he'll knock your teeth out, man, because he was going for broke when he came to the hole.
Oh, for sure. Karl Malone was like a runaway freight train when he would go into the paint. It was like you better either if you were thinking about taking a charge from him, I would tell you to rethink it because you're gonna stand there, he's gonna run you over. I mean, you're just gonna get flattened, and that's just how Karl Malone handled his business back then. And
Yeah,
Utah, they Jerry Sloan was their coach, man. He was a hard nosed, rugged coach, so they had a hard nosed, rugged team back then. So I think this is a good pick for the Utah Jazz.
yeah,
So
it's a
it looks
great
like the
thing.
Washington
Yeah,
Wizards is up next.
who's up next? Yeah,
And Washington's got some work to do as well because Washington, they never really that team is just they've had some good players. The most notable player I know that played at Washington was Gilbert Arenas. And
oh yeah,
I watch Gilbert Arenas' podcast, by the way. I think he has an excellent podcast.
yeah,
That guy, I mean, Gilbert has got a really good crew of guys over there, and they talk about some really hard on topics over at Gil's Arena. And I actually subscribe to them, so I'm constantly watching Gilbert Arenas. But the Washington Wizards, they have never really kind of powered their way into a position where they can be super dominant like a lot of other teams out of the East. And that takes a lot of it's just I mean you have to throw the dice.
yeah. Well,
Dice.
people don't know how difficult it is to win, DC.
It is
You know, it's
very
difficult,
difficult
man.
at that level.
People don't realize you got to have so many things working together in a sport where it's a team sport. Everything has to come together for you to win, man. You got to have a great organization. Everybody got to be on the same accord. You got to have that championship mentality. If you don't have that, man, it's just not going to work out. You know,
Yeah.
it's got to start from the top too. You can't have a guy on the top and he's not relentless with winning. If you just got a guy who just think, oh, we're going to go about our day to day, man, you could just bank on you not getting ready to win anything. You need a guy who's waking up and going to bed with this mentality of we gonna win. We got to be doing something right. We always got to be looking positive. We always got to be working at it, trying to get better.
Exactly.
And if you don't do that, it ain't gonna work out, man. I've seen it. I've been on teams like that. I've been involved with programs where you had the guy on the top, he would go all out. I mean, it was nothing that he wouldn't do to get better. So you have to have that mentality if you want to win. So if you got a guy on the top who's not all in, you better clip him and get somebody that's going to do it because that's the only way you're going to get better and ultimately win a championship.
Yeah, I mean you're absolutely right. And looking at some other players, because I just pulled up Washington, some of the past players for Washington. The next most notable is Moses Malone, and most people don't, the younger generation don't know much about Moses Malone. But before Moses Malone got to Philadelphia, he played for Washington, and Moses Malone was dominant just from the get go. I mean, even when he was,
Oh man, he was massive.
yeah,
He was
he
massive.
was one of the most dominant centers in basketball back then because the way he handled Kareem in several of those finals back then when Dr. J was on that Philadelphia team and Daryl Dawkins and Lionel Hollins and those guys had a really good squad. Another one here of late is Juwan Howard. I mean, Juwan Howard played for the Wizards. Bradley Beal played for the Wizards at one time. It's quite a few players.
Yeah, but they always will put together, one or two superstars, and one or two superstars not going to do anything. You can still be 500 with one or two superstars. You really have to have three or four good players. You got to have really three or four good superstars on a team to be really good, man. You got to have these supporting cast. Your bench got to be great too. But if you don't have at least three superstars, just bank on not going to the playoff, and you'll be watching the postseason with other teams playing. You're not going anywhere.
You're not going anywhere. And that's why they have to utilize a delicate balance of going through free agency and going to the draft. Now, a lot of teams, they tend to not balance it out properly in the sense that some teams just rely heavily upon the draft. Some other teams rely heavily upon free agency. But you have to have that
Mm-hmm.
balance, especially nowadays, because in any professional sport where it's a team sport and you have, let's just say, more than two players on a team, you have to have that balance. You just can't, you know, think that one is going to work better than the other. You have to be able to balance that out. And you know who another person
Yeah.
was really good at that? We'll shift over to football was Bobby Beathard. I don't know whether you remember Bobby Beathard used to be the general manager at the Washington, at that time, Redskins. Now they're Washington Commanders.
Mm-hmm.
But Bobby Beathard, he was one of the best in the business with getting free agents, being able to draft. And it's just amazing what those teams were able to do back then. Looks
Yeah.
like Trey Johnson out of Texas has just been drafted by Washington. I think he'll be a good addition to Washington as well. Because once these guards, you get these guards, drafting a good guard is like drafting, to me, a quarterback. I can't.
Quarterback. Having a good quarterback.
Yeah. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, a guard, some of the guard's responsibilities is to be the court general. You got to be,
Of course it
you got to
is.
be able to see
Yeah.
things. You got to be able to have a bigger
Mhm.
vision to be
Yeah.
able to run a team on the floor. And we talked
Yep.
about some of the greats off of Najee's list last week, where you
Yeah.
got the Magic Johnsons and the Isaiah Thomases and the Jason Kidds, and I can name a few other ones. Allen Iverson. Those guys were
Yeah.
like, to me, court generals, quarterbacks in a way. That's what
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
equate
Because
them.
you got to know where your players are and know how to distribute the ball and all of this, know how to run the plays, and know where everybody are. Especially when you're running and gunning, you got to know where everybody's going to be. When you go into the hole, you got a guy that's on the. So I thought, when Michael Jordan was playing, they were the best at it. They were the best at it, man. They come down the court, they say, you got Curry on the corner, Michael Jordan will go in like he's gonna shoot the ball, he'll push it out to Curry. Curry hit a three from the corner.
Yeah.
And it was always where they was running constantly, and just like you were saying, that court general, you just distribute the ball, and then the next thing you know, you got a layup with Mike coming in. So it's beautiful to see a good court general to come up and down the field, or the court rather.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's going to be so exciting to watch these young players at the start of the season next year, when they get off out of the blocks and be able to go and start playing. If you look at the draft headquarters at Washington, all of them are clapping in there like they've hit a home run, technically, for basketball.
They
But
probably think they have hit the home run, because if you think about what they had in the very near future, they hadn't been picking up good players like this. Not early in a draft like this. They haven't been getting these type of players.
mhm.
So we're gonna
Yeah.
see how this is gonna pan out.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It looks as though New Orleans is up right now, and New Orleans is going to have some help because New Orleans has got a decent team and they have potential, but it just remains to be seen. Um, it remains to be seen if what's his name is going to ever step up. The center for New Orleans, who used to play at Duke. New Orleans. Let me pull his name up. His name just slipped by me. We were talking about him a couple of days ago. As a matter of fact, he's had weight issues.
Yeah.
And
Didn't even hear Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra run
Zion
that weight off
Williamson.
of
I don't know why that name just slipped past me. Zion
Yeah.
Williamson can be a super dominant player. It looks like Bruce Brown is currently with New Orleans. Zion Williamson, CJ McCollum. CJ McCollum sometimes is on First Take. I've looked at First Take in over a year or two, but CJ McCollum, he's a good player. And it's just they just gonna have to continually add to that talent. So New Orleans definitely need to really pick a good player and try to hit a home run today as well, because they need that delicate balance of being able to give their coach an opportunity to be able to build different types of schemes and different types of starting floor groups that he could rotate in and out, I would think, you know. So it looks as though here, and I'm looking here at the TV right now, and it looks like my guy Bob Myers is sitting there with Stephen A. Smith, and they're talking about some of the picks that's already in and some of the things that's going on. You know, because this is definitely a really good, interesting draft, I think. But you know what, Isaiah, I miss Najee. I'm just telling you right now, and I miss him dearly. Yeah, because I mean,
Yeah.
I feel so much more comfortable when Najee's around because he knows basketball, man. This kid, he knows basketball. He just spits it out. He just off the top of his head, and you know, next year's draft, we'll definitely have a little draft party where Najee will be a part of this, but he just had to be away on assignment, so we're not going to worry about that right now. It looks as though New Orleans pick is in, and let's see here on the list who New Orleans is possibly looking.
You're running a little bit ahead of me.
Yeah, I think with the TV, and then I have my computer here actually with it, and there is a time gap. I mean, it's a break between the time.
Yeah, that's the
Stephen A has got this powder blue suit on, with a powder blue suit with a powder blue tie on. He really puts together some fashion statements with some of the things he wear, but you know, most of his stuff is tailor made. I would say.
Yeah.
So he don't just go into men's suit outlet and buy a suit, you know, off the rack like what a lot of people do. Stephen A get that stuff made from. I mean, they measure him and they make his suits based on his measurements, you know. And
just literature in front of them too, so don't think they just know it off the top of their head like
for sure.
They got a bunch of books and computers and all the whole nine yards.
They do it. Hey, I'm doing the same thing because I'm here compiling all of this data and the stats and all of that, and we're putting it together here as well. So it's just, you know, if you're not as familiar, and these guys are familiar with basketball, but my familiarity is getting better and better and better. So it looks like New Orleans selection is in right now. So let's see who New Orleans selects. So it looks like OU, Jeremiah Fears from Oklahoma. Let's pull his stats up. You know, being at a school like Oklahoma, they play in the SEC now. They used to play in the Big 8, the Big 12.
Jeremiah Fears is his name.
Yeah, Jeremiah
Fears. This dude is blinged up, too, man. Look at this bling he got on.
Pure diamonds. He ain't playing around.
Up, man.
So he's 6'4", 182. It looks like. He is the real deal. He's a guard, of course, and this draft looks like it's going to be guard heavy. He averages 7 points a game, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. His field goal average was 43.4 for a guard, so he's definitely got all of the intangibles to be a superstar, you know, to be a superstar at this level. I mean, if you think about it, because I'm looking at some of his stats. And he played in the SEC, and the SEC is one of the toughest basketball divisions in college basketball. If you think about it, other than the Big East, if you think about in the ACC, of course, you got the ACC, but the Big East is still a powerhouse conference, and then you have the SEC with the Alabamas and the LSU's and you know the Arkansas and the Kentuckys and the Georgias and the South Carolinas, you know. So it's a very, very competitive conference, even though the SEC, when you mention SEC, you always think football first. But he's the 7th pick. And, you know, I think he's going to help this team out. I really do. Blake Griffin was the first pick. And we all remember Blake Griffin coming out of Oklahoma back in the day. He ended up playing for the Clippers for a long, long time, you know.
Yeah. They showing all the guys who came out of there, man. But
yeah,
you know, Oklahoma has been.
Buddy Hield is another one, but Blake Griffin is definitely a superstar wise, talent wise. Blake Griffin had all the right intangibles to be successful at the NBA level. He never won. I don't think he ever won a championship. He never won a ring, right? Let me see. Blake Griffin.
No, he never win a championship. Not in professional, he hadn't.
Yeah, Blake Griffin never won, you know, a ring. He didn't win any championships in his career. Actually, it says here.
No, he's been on good teams, but he hadn't won no championship.
Mm-hmm. He's been on quite a kid right now, driving to the basket and being able to do what he's doing. He wears number 0 too, and he is definitely talented, man. You know. Do you remember Mookie Blaylock? Used to play for Oklahoma back in the 80s.
Yeah,
man, I remember him. Oklahoma had a powerhouse team back then, man.
Yeah, man. Mookie Blaylock was fierce, man.
Yeah. Because if you think about that team that Oklahoma had back then, man, they were damn near unstoppable as far as I could see. Yeah. You know, this man's mother, I mean, Jeremiah Fear's mother is so happy. I mean, she's in the stratosphere, man. Just thinking about, once again, his mother prepped him and raised him right to get to this point, you know, and he has to give her that due credit, because if it wasn't for his mother, who knows whether he would have made it or not. You know what I mean? Am I right or wrong?
You're absolutely correct. And this is what I was saying early in the segment, because they showed some footage of him, you know, seeing about his siblings while his mom was at work. You know, he was that big brother who had to look out for the younger siblings, the brothers and the sisters, man. And your mom out there trying to make ends meet, and you the oldest one, you got to look out for the family. And so now all of that dedication is coming to fruition tonight, man. He's paying her back right now for all the hard work and dedication. Yep.
And I'm pretty sure, like you said, you mentioned before, these kids' NIL contracts are just out of the roof. I mean, so I don't know what Spears' contracts call for with NIL, but I'm pretty sure that, you know, he definitely was making some serious money over at OU with this NIL.
There's always hundreds of thousands of dollars, even, you know, if it's not millions, but it's just to have that extra added income coming in the household. If your mom is a single mom, you know, you got a single parent, and if you got an NIL contract, you bringing in that extra added money in the house to help out. And that's what it's really all about, man, because first of all, you were away in college, and then your mom don't have that same help that she had. But if he's sending that money home to her, she can hire help, and or either she don't have to work anymore, because you get $1 million contract, you can put your mom, you can retire her, and she can just make sure she takes care of your siblings, your brothers and your sisters. And that's what I love about this stuff, man. I love this, bro. Love it with all my heart to see these guys being able to take care of their family.
Yeah, and it's nothing like having that satisfaction to be able to go to that real estate agent and say, you know what, I'm gonna get my mama a house. I'm gonna get her one of the biggest houses. and not necessarily always the biggest
It's,
house. He's going to get his mother a
it's
comfortable
comfortable.
place to stay,
Yeah,
correct?
that's all it's all about. Just comfortable. Just get her
Yeah,
in a nice
comfortable.
neighborhood in a
Yeah,
comfortable spot and decent car to drive around in. It don't have
exactly.
to be a massive house at all.
Hmm.
And matter of fact, some of these people don't even want a big house like that because it's so difficult to maintain. So they'll rather have some moderate house, a decent car, and money in their pocket where they can go buy grocery and take care of their utilities. That's what it's really, really all about.
Exactly.
Yep.
Absolutely. It looks as though Brooklyn is up next, and it looks like Brooklyn's pick is in. So let's take a look at that. Look like my computer froze up here.
Freaking Stephen A. Always got to be dramatic.
Well, he's a dramatic guy. Stephen A. has gotten to the point that he is now
Gotta
not
just
being dramatic,
screaming shit.
being loud and bombastic and stuff. When it
Yeah.
comes to that, he's definitely number one at that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they just picked a kid out of Brigham Young, Brooklyn next,
Yeah.
Igor Dimin. I think they said Moscow. I want to say,
This way. He's from Moscow?
well, his family. I'm assuming that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Igor Dimming.
Mhm.
Well, Brooklyn got him. Clean cut guy. Looked like an army
Adam
cadet.
Silver just mentioned that, and that someone said Moscow. One of the announcers said Moscow as well. So, but
Yeah.
BYU, he's a guard too, and he looks pretty damn tall for a guard to me. He looks tall and lanky as well. Let's see what his stats and what his profile looks like. Igor Dimin. So he's 6'9", playing guard. I mean, 6'9", that's Magic Johnson, 6'9", 6'10", worthy.
Yeah, it
Those
is.
guys to have a big.
There's some dudes coming in and getting paid.
Yeah, I mean, he's got good court size. He's definitely, he's got the size to be able to bring the ball up the court and to be able to get a guard at 6'9", 6'10", to me is special for any team. You know, it looks like
Where he come
Toronto is
from? What
coming up.
school? What school does he come from?
BYU, Brigham
Oh,
Young.
okay. Well, he's a good shooter too, man.
Yes, I'm pulling up his numbers right now. I'm gonna look at his stats.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says he was born. He's 19 years old, born in Moscow, Russia.
Yeah.
Point guard, small forward, another player they could play forward or small forward, of course. You know.
Well, I can't look at a person and tell where you're from, man. Some people can. Oh, he look like this. I can't do it.
Yeah, I can't
I'm
either.
not.
I mean, I try not to even think like that in that sense. You know. Let's see here.
But I tell you one thing, he's a sharpshooter, man. He's shooting well and he passed well. Okay.
So right here it says, according to his career stat, because it depends on their role too. A lot of times, the role that the type of role that the coach has for certain players on the court. Because it looks like he averaged up to 10 points a game, which, like you say, he's a shooter, and he can handle the ball. 3.9 rebounds, which technically is 4 rebounds, 6 assists a game. He's got a 41% field goal average, so that's not too bad either. I don't think. He's still a good pick for them, I believe. So Toronto has 2 minutes and 40 seconds left before their next pick is in. Let's look here.
He's showing all the BYU players that was selected in the lottery.
Yeah, BYU, they have to go on missions. I know a lot of times if you play in the athletics, if you're in athletics at BYU, you have, I believe the mission is a 5-year mission. I don't know how it applies to Igor here, but I know, it's kind of like when David Robinson was at the Naval Academy. They had to waive his military service for him to be able to play.
Oh yeah, I remember that. When David Robinson played, when he was a military cadet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when he, had to do his service. But I always thought that was some of the most honorable thing you can do as a, cadet, man. When you serving your country, you're playing your sport that you love. You don't get it no better than that, man. David Robinson wore that uniform well, man.
Yep. So Napoleon McCallum was another one. I think Napoleon McCallum was at the Naval Academy as well. He was another running back, and he ended up playing for the Raiders as well. And he ended up having to, I think they waived his service, and they just deferred it. In other words, they didn't waive it, but it's a deferral where I guess they could serve in the service, based on if they meet some of the criteria based on that.
Yeah.
But a BYU mission, and that goes for football or any sport at BYU.
Where this draft is being held, DC?
Brooklyn. I think it's in Brooklyn, New York. So it says men typically serve 24 months and women typically serve 18 months in their missions,
And that's after they get out of the service. Once they do their 4 years in the service, if they was playing a sport, then they also have to do almost like the Rangers do. Going to serve 1 weekend a month. Is it similar to that?
It could be similar. I would have to dig and look into that, but it says here
it's just like a reservist.
Students are not required to serve missions, but those who are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints may choose to do so.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a requirement, but there was a time that I remember, if I recall, back in the 80s, that they went on missions. I mean, at least the football players did back then. And that's very unique in its own way, and it's special. I mean, when you're serving on a mission, you're going to other countries and you're helping people in poor countries and things like that. So it's definitely a positive, if the school did require at some point, and now it's no obligation or requirement to do it. I think that's still special, in a lot of ways. It looks as though Toronto pick is in, and let's see. Memphis Grizzlies look like they pick at 16. We're at the number 9 pick right now. So I'm just trying to figure out when the Lakers, let me see where the Lakers fall.
Lakers are nowhere in sight off of this when they was going.
They might have, let's see, the Lakers 20.
Unless they traded down or something. They could have traded down,
So it says here that they hold the 55th pick in the 2025 NBA draft. So to me,
they're gonna get passed over.
That's in the second round. I mean, because this pick is in the second round.
That means they're gonna trade it off on something. They might have swapped out.
Yeah.
With they probably traded off with Texas. With Dallas.
It looks, South Carolina's got a kid, Colin Murray Boyles, just got picked by Toronto. He's a forward. And South Carolina, I mean, their women are just off the charts, but they have a pretty good men's basketball team as well,
Look at this.
They said that this kid could potentially play power forward or center. He's 6'6" and a half, so that's about 6'7", 239 pounds. But he's got some size on him. He's not no little skinny kid at that height. You know what I mean? A lot of those kids, if you got them 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", and they weigh 190 pounds, I mean, come on. You got to put on weight, because in order to be able to grind in that league, and especially inside the paint, you definitely got to have some weight on you to be able to bump and put some bruising on another player, the opposing players, you know? So his girlfriend is Chloe Kitts, 6'2", starting forward on the South Carolina women's team.
Yeah, I seen her. She's tall too, man. That she is right there with the red dress on.
You know, University of South Carolina is a great school to attend. I mean, it's in the city of Columbia. It's a great community. Technically, the university take up all of
Adam Silver,
all
boy,
of
he got a good
downtown
job.
Columbia, you know. And that campus is
Yeah.
just it's an immaculate campus. It's a big campus, and that's his girl. I think this is his girlfriend right here.
Red dress.
Yeah.
Oh, she's
And
in
she's
red
super
dress.
good too. Chloe Kitts is, I think she'll be a first round WNBA player, no doubt about it. You know, because I've seen her in the national championship game when they
There
played.
she is, right there, number 21.
Yes, number 21. I'm really happy for him. I mean, you can't be nothing but happy for these young people, these young men, especially today.
What a combination between them two.
Oh yeah.
Imagine
Absolutely.
they have kids. If they have kids, they're gonna be
beautiful
7-footers,
and they're gonna be tall.
Yeah, they'll be 7-footers, man.
Yes, for sure.
Because she's 6'2" and he's what, 6'8", something like that.
It says 6'6.5", what I was looking at.
Well,
On
that's
the,
you got a woman that's 6'2". Right. Yeah.
And I know she's super happy for him, because he'll be sitting at the WNBA draft for her at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This dude in the green jacket, who is he? Because they were showing him on something. There she is right there. Oh. I imagine what's going on that campus with both of them being such superstars. You know, he's on the top of his game and she's on the top of her game.
Yeah, it says here that it looks like she's a sophomore.
Wow.
According to this, sophomore year was 23, 24. So I think she's a junior now. She has to fall under the. Let's see here. Yeah, she's a junior. I'm looking at her profile on South Carolina's website. Here's his mother.
Can they come out now? Can they come out early?
You know what? Let me double check that, because I want to make sure I'm accurate.
Can the girls come out early?
And college women.
Man, his mom is all smiles, bro. His mom is all smiles.
So it says here, college women can declare for the WNBA draft, but they must meet specific eligibility requirements. Generally, they must be at least 22 years old during the draft year and have graduated from a 4-year college, or be 4 years removed. Additionally, players who are not yet 22 and still have eligibility can declare for the draft, but they must renounce their remaining college eligibility. If that makes sense.
That don't make sense.
It doesn't.
What do you mean graduate? Most of these people don't graduate.
So it looks like, let me just type in, can they declare early?
No, that around the bush. Yeah, let's see if they can declare early. That's all that needs to be said.
No. College women cannot declare early for the WNBA draft in the way that men can for the NBA.
Oh,
she's gonna have to. She's gonna have to stay in.
You have to do all 4 years. Yeah.
She's gonna have to do all 4 years, because
if she get out of school, she got to be 4 years removed, right? Mm-hmm. If she comes out early, she's got to be 4 years removed before she can enter the draft.
That's right.
So if she removed herself for 4 years, what's she gonna do? Pick up basketball at the neighborhood park?
I would hope
and
not.
get
She'll
rusty.
probably be playing against her boyfriend because I'm pretty sure they do one-on-ones. More than likely, she playing one-on-one. Wouldn't you think? I mean, that's
Of
just
course, that's
my
probably why
guess.
she's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
She only gets
trained,
mad
that's
by
why
playing
she's
him
good.
one-on-one, and he's not taking it easy on her. He's giving her all he got. You know, if you think about that.
So imagine when she plays the girls, then if she can play him.
Oh, yeah.
If she's playing against him, practicing against him, you imagine
She's
how
one of
dominant she
Dawn
will be
Staley's
with the women.
top players, actually.
Yeah.
Look at KP. Kendrick Perkins is here talking. KP know he be eating them vittles, boy. He don't hold back on them vittles. Because I remember a time when he was at OKC where he was skinny. He wasn't like this. Here's Jay Billis. He used to play for Duke. So it looks like the Houston Rockets pick is in. So this is going to be kind of critical because KD just got there, and we'll see who Houston picks because it's just going to be really important because Houston's got a really young team, don't you think?
Yeah. And they're building a team over there. They got, Durant's going over there to be the old man to teach them. He's going to be that general on the court teaching these young folks.
Absolutely. So their pick is in. The Houston Rockets pick is in.
Yeah. And this is going to be a very interesting season next year with all these young superstars coming in. Yeah.
So it looks like 3 Duke players in the top 10.
Yes, God. Malak, she's saying.
Malak. He looks like one of the guys gonna command respect in that middle because he's a big boy.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Like another one of those international players that we were talking about too. Yeah. These kids coming from all over the world playing in the NBA now.
Yeah, South Sudan.
You will definitely see these guys when the Olympics come around.
He's 7'2" also. I mean, he's 7'2".
I mean, he's towering over all these guys.
7'2", 250 pounds. So just imagine if he were to add 10 more pounds and maybe
pounds on him, man.
Yeah. Put a little bit of
they might put 20 pounds on him though.
Yeah.
And he blinged up like the yeah.
I know he's happy.
Well,
because,
these are coming true.
To be able to leave South Sudan, and he's on their national team too. He's on that Sudan national team.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That once we start playing those teams overseas, we'll be playing against the ones that's playing in the NBA.
Some of them, yeah, absolutely. So it's showing him in South Sudan, I believe, or at least he's showing his story from the actual beginning.
Man, that guy is a total disbelief, man.
Absolutely.
Dude,
technically,
there he is right now with Cleveland stuff on. Nobody seen him like that. That's how all this thing came about. You should be playing basketball, bro.
Absolutely.
Walking down the street with his book bag on it at 13 years old.
You can't be nothing
he's
happy for him.
7-1.
He's 7-1. It all goes back that he's an instant multi-millionaire now, being picked in the position that he's picked in.
Yeah.
Because he's the number 10th pick. I mean, so you go from 1 to 10. I mean, the money that contract is going to be bloated up for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anything beyond 10, I would think the contracts start to kind of level out a little bit from the remaining teams. But if you in that top 5 bracket like Cooper Flagg, and I mean, they're talking about anywhere from $62 to $63 million for Cooper Flagg. I mean, that just sets the bar for a lot of these other players, you know?
And that's still on the rookie deal. That's
Yeah.
still on the rookie deal to make that kind of
I
money,
don't
man.
know
That's
how they
it's
do it
unheard
because
of.
I'm not. That's why I say I was, you know, Najee would be able to answer that for us, but it's just, you know, I think what they do is they look at these teams base that value on some of these players. Because look at what Travis Hunter got. I mean, in the NFL, being the number two
But
pick.
Travis Hunter,
But he's a two-way
DC,
player, so I'm not forgetting about
yes,
that.
that's what I was just
Yeah, he's
ready
a
to
two-way
say.
player.
And they paying him accordingly because
Exactly.
they paying him for being a starter on both sides because apparently he went to camp and he's being able to do both of them, so they're gonna let him do it.
Exactly.
That's his mom or his girlfriend or something over there crying, man, because they know their life is dramatically changing
Hmm.
and dreams have
Oh, it's
begun
it's
to
like
flourish.
it's like a game changer for him. Look at this. Yeah, they so happy because they know everybody in the family's life is getting ready to change for the better.
Yeah,
I mean, if you think
yeah.
about it, it's like
Hmm.
if you're a human being and you wake up and you're struggling every day and you're trying to figure out how you're gonna pay your water bill and your gas bill and your car
Look at
note.
his siblings, bro.
And he was able to get an education from Duke. So think about that too. I
Yeah,
mean, that's an extra plus for him too. Because usually Duke
yeah,
generally graduate 100% of their players too. So he'll get his
yeah,
education. He'll have a solid Duke education. Then he'll play
yeah.
professional basketball. I think Manute Bol was the last player to come out of Sudan, right? You remember Manute Bol? I think he was
That's true.
74.
Yeah, but then what's the coach that's coaching over there on that international team? I seen him in the Olympics last year. He used to play for shoot, I forgot what team he played for, but he was the head coach over there. He the one started basketball over there.
In Sudan?
Yeah, yeah. I forgot his name, man. And he was good. He played with the Chicago Bulls, I think. You see it? Yeah, you look it up.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Look up the Sudan's head coach.
Luol Deng. Luau
Luau Deng.
Deng.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Former
yeah.
NBA All Star is a key figure in starting and developing
Nope.
basketball in
Yes,
South Sudan.
yes, yes,
He
yes,
serves as the
yes, yes.
president of the South Sudan Basketball Federation and has been
Yes.
instrumental in building the team from ground up and bringing players,
Mhm.
you know, to the level that this young man is now. I mean, if you think about it,
Yeah,
because you know
yeah.
Sudan
That's
is
what
a
I'm telling you.
very poverty stricken country, and be for Luau Ding to be able to go back home and be able to help those players to me is special. You know, to help these young kids, not just players, but to help young kids in general to try to aspire to do something when all of the deck of cards is stacked against you. You know, you
Yeah,
fighting uphill every day you wake up. You fighting uphill, but you know, on the flip side of that, here's another success story. You know, so if you could
yeah.
get one across the finish line, that's all you need. That's really all you
That's
need.
all you need, and
Yeah,
that's what it's all
yeah,
about. When you inspire and inspire these people to do well like this here, and you can touch one person, you actually have done your job. And
absolutely.
that's with anything. If you're running a after school program or anything like that, if you can inspire one person to change his attitude and to change his way of thinking on a positive where they can become some professional, because if you can do that, that person might have the fortitude to give back as well. And now it can snowball,
Absolutely.
and then he could do the same thing. Is that giving back thing, man? It's that
Yeah.
paying forward type of situation you're
And it's
looking
a
for.
like it's like a chain event. It's like, you know, it's passing off the baton because this young man, who
Derek
knows, he may go back to
Colbert
Sudan and help young kids
from
just like
Washington
Luau
State,
Ding
DC.
did, right?
Cedric Colbert from Washington State just got picked.
Yes. And it looks like, yeah, for Portland, he's got a 56% field goal average. Uh, he's pretty good, actually. Let me pull his numbers up.
Yeah. Boy, I tell you.
So it looks like his numbers, he averaged 17 or 18 points a game, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and he shot 55% from the field. So I mean that to me is super overly impressive. He's a forward, 6'6", 190. He'll beef up a little bit. They'll put a little bit of weight on him in the NBA because he's going to have weight to be able to play at the level and an intensity in the NBA, because it's much different from college. You playing against adults in the NBA.
Yeah.
You playing against 18, 19-year olds in college, but you playing against grown men at the NBA level. So it looks as though we'll cover a couple of more picks, which is the 12. We'll cover up until the 15th pick, and then we'll call it a day with this draft. But we actually have seen the top so far 12 teams pick.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like
And
Chicago
this is the
Bulls is
best in
on
the
the clock
country
right
for
now.
DC. Yeah, I mean, these are the best players in the country right now who's getting
Absolutely.
picked first.
Absolutely.
They're the best. I just couldn't believe that Duke had three people out of this few that we've seen. Three people on their team has got picked first. So that goes to show you what kind of year they had.
But you know what? Sadly to say, they didn't make it to the finals. I mean, they didn't make it to the final. They made it to the final four, but they didn't get to the championship.
That doesn't mean anything. They could have been out coached, but they've got good players though. That don't mean that just because you didn't win a championship, you didn't have good players on your team. You could have got out coached. It could have been injury. It could have been anything that stopped them from getting to be, champions. But they got the players. They surely have the players. Because you don't have three players go in the top 10 on a basketball team unless you have a great team.
Because if you look at Duke, Florida ended up winning it all over Houston, as we know. But it looks as though
not one of Florida players got picked yet, though. There's no players. Florida hasn't had a pick yet. Nobody's on Florida team and gotten picked yet.
Yeah, it was a kind of a letdown for Duke to have all that talent on that team. I mean, you got three guys that went in the top 10, and then they didn't get there. But I mean, that's life, man. If you think about certain things, do they line up? Does all the dots line up where they need to line up? And sometimes they don't.
They have to. To even become a professional, everything has to line up. You were just talking about how the kid go to school and then he's got to graduate, or either he's got to do 4 years as a woman playing, in the WNBA. They got to go all 4 years. So that means everything has to line up. And male sports and basketball, they can opt out early and leave. So, you might get injured as a girl going 4 years, but then if a guy goes out early, he can automatically get in to professionals basketball. So I think they need to rethink that. I really think they got to rethink that.
Be on the agenda, because they gotta get, it's got to be a little bit more fairer than that. I mean, because a lot of these young ladies, when they play at that level, they should have the same opportunities as far as I'm concerned. I don't think it should be any different. If a male can come out and declare early as a junior, a female should be able to do the same. I mean, I don't know what the WNBA is thinking about, because I mean, I know the WNBA might probably stress more on a 4-year education than maybe the men do, but they need to really even that up so the young ladies can leave, and then they can take care of their families. Because see, that's ultimately what it's about. You have an obligation to go to school for 4 years, but then again, on the flip side of that, you are actually displaying and giving the school your talent to be able to win at a level where the school can actually benefit from it. So why can't the players benefit from it? So they need to, if the WNBA is listening, they need to listen carefully and rethink that and put that on their next agenda because, young ladies like Chloe Kitts should be able to come out if they want to come out.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's no
that's
rhyme or
why
reason why she's got to stay in 2 more years. I mean, who knows what may happen, the injuries and everything else. They need to give it a better situation. They need to give these young ladies a better opportunity.
You just validated what I've been talking about.
Yeah,
you just validated by saying that. Who knows, man? The way these injuries occur, you can turn an ankle or knee or something like that, or rotator cuff, and then you're done.
Yep.
So I think they need to get the opportunity to leave early.
They need to be able to live out their dreams, the same as these young men. Just like I said that with the one and done, which was at the University of Kentucky. They said the architect of that was Kentucky's coach at the time, and he was basically telling players, "Why are you staying here if you've actually done 1 year, especially if it's a national championship situation where you won a national championship? There ain't no rhyme or reason why you should stay here. You should go on to the NBA and start making money, taking care of your family, feeding your family,
Yeah, because you've done the ultimate. If you won a championship, you've done the ultimate, man. And in your life, you need to start living your life because you're still an amateur. As long as you're in college, you're an amateur. No matter whether you got NIL money coming in or not, you're an amateur. And then your life is still kind of put on hold until you get drafted in the NBA or the NFL. Yeah.
So we got the next pick
Who's
coming in.
up next pick?
Chicago. And this is the number 12th pick right now.
Yeah. Chicago Bulls, boy. The 12th pick.
This young man is very talented. I was reading a little bit up on his profile, and he's definitely going to help Chicago for sure. He's from France too. He's a forward, so he's a French player coming from France. That brother there got on a bow tie like me, man.
How do you pronounce his name?
You know what?
Noah Esingo from France. Noah Esingo. How do you pronounce his name, DC?
I'm gonna.
I say Noah Esingo.
I would rather look it up than
18 years old. 18 years old.
He's 18 years old. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Yep. His father owns a car wash business, and his mother is a teacher. That said on here.
France.
Mm-hmm. So boy, we got a bunch of international players got picked already.
It's definitely growing
like
for
4 or 5
players.
Yeah. Boy, that doggone Najee, he missed, man. Hey, man, this guy's a sharpshooter, DC. You see him
looking at some of his highlights over in France. Looks like he's playing against talent that, I mean, that don't even measure up to what he's capable of doing, to me.
That uniform what they're wearing looked like University of Tennessee uniform.
Yes, it does. It's like the orange and white.
Yeah, the orange and white. It looked like University of Tennessee. So the Chicago Bulls are building on their team, man. I want my Miami Heat to start pulling the trigger like this. We need it. We need a superstar desperately.
And these brothers coming over here and they making a instant impact from France.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, man. But getting back to what we were talking about earlier, these guys are multi-talented where they can play so many positions on the court.
And that's important because
Yeah, very important.
if you are multi-talented like that and can actually play different positions, you only enhance your value
Your
to a
ball
team.
club. Yeah,
You know,
your ball club as well. You know, if you were more of a contributor to the team, I don't know what kind of suit he got on, though, with these things dangling on his sleeve. You see his outfit?
they say his family name is African name from Central African countries like Cameroon.
Yeah,
Essenic. But either way, I mean, it's nice to see some of the international players be able to come over and be able to instantly be able to compete at the level at the NBA because 40 years ago they would have every blue moon they would have an international player come over and they would make some impact.
Yeah.
Like Manute
yeah, but this
Bol or
one,
Luol Deng and guys like that, you know. But you didn't have them like you have them now.
yeah, because the thing is so competitive around the globe with basketball. Now they're playing it in school. They playing it in elementary school, junior high, and high school. So now they go to college over here so they can wind up going to the NBA.
Exactly.
And that's why it's growing. Is a global sport now.
So now they're honoring some of the players. Actually, the NBA pioneers, Adam Silver is actually honoring right now. So it looks like the 13th pick is in for the Atlanta Hawks right now.
Yeah. Uh-huh. The guy with that striped suit on, who is he? I can't make him out.
You're
I
talking
can't
about in
make
the
out
white
this.
striped suit.
Yeah, oh, yeah, with the little powder blue tie on.
Yeah, he looks familiar. I don't know right off the top because I don't see a name next to him, but he's tall. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
It says Lloyd, Clifton, and Cooper. These are the three photos. I guess the pioneers of the 1950s.
He looked familiar though. I just can't put his name on it. Yeah, I got Lloyd Clifton Cooper. Yeah,
So it looks like the Hawks had a proposed trade. They will receive the number 23 pick and an unprotected 2026 first round pick, and the Pelicans would receive a pick number 13. So that was a proposed trade.
the Miami Heat was 20, right? The
I
Heat, there was
do believe
the
the
Heat
Heat
is
is
20.
20.
The Pelicans receiver, yeah.
So it looks like Adam Silver is up now to see who the Hawks pick. Derek Queen, University
Derek
of
Queen
Maryland.
is the one that's yeah, University of Maryland.
And you remember back in the day in the 80s, the University of Maryland was
Maryland used to be competitive. Yeah, man. Yeah, they really had a
They had
good
a coach
team.
back then named Lefty Drizel. I don't know
Their
whether most people
basketball
remember
team was
him.
better than the football team. Yeah, their basketball team was more competitive than the football team. And then the basketball team kind of dropped off a little bit, and then the football team got better.
Yeah, Lefty Drizel was the Maryland's coach, and Lenny Bias actually came out of Maryland. Remember Lenny
Yeah,
Bias?
he came out of. Yeah, of course I did. I didn't want to mention that about him earlier because it was going so well. And that first guy, that center, and the way how hyped it was, I didn't want to bring Lynn Bias up because of the tragedy happened to him.
Yeah,
But he
and I'm
reminded me so
sorry
much
if
of
I
Lynn
mean
Bias.
my condolences still go out to Len Bias and his family. I mean that was just such a tragedy
Yeah.
that happened. but it just goes to show you generation after generation after generation. Because look at this Maryland player, you know, he's been picked in the first round in the top 20.
Yeah. And I remember him the night he got drafted, DC, when he walked up there and grabbed that hat on, that Boston Celtics hat on, and
I remember
man, it just was a tragedy, man, to see him.
Just so much shock and disbelief. It was just so much shock and disbelief when it happened.
Yeah, they were banking on him because, you know, the Boston Celtics had to regroup and rebuild their team, and he was going to be that one.
He was
that, you know, they were going to build a
team
around him.
It would have been him, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Danny Ainge, Robert Parrish.
And they would have plugged him in there, and they would have plugged him by it.
And the Lakers would, the Western Conference would have been in serious trouble. He'd have been in deeper trouble with that, you know.
And they was counting on that, man. 2 days later, bam.
Yep. And such a tragedy, but it's so nice to see a young man like Derek Queen come along, and he's a center. I mean, he's going to be an impactful player, I think. I just pulled his information up, so let's see here.
Man, you talking about Stephen A's outfit. These other two guys are bringing it too. They're bringing it too, man.
Yeah, you're talking about Bob Myers, who used to be the ex-GM for Golden State. Bob Myers dresses pretty conservatively.
That's his mom with him? With Queen?
Yeah.
Is that his mom? Derek Queen, that's his mom?
I want to say yes.
You know, it was always nice to be able to see
him. Tragedy. It destroyed the whole Maryland program at that time, because you know that was. I mean, Maryland ended up pretty much just coming apart. I mean, Lefty Driesell quit. I mean, and the program just was in disarray for such a long time. You know. So Derek Queen stats shows here. Yeah, they showing his highlights right now, and he's a very agile big man, as you can see, when it comes to defense and offense, blocking shots.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. The way he goes to the hole, he shoots well.
Yes,
and I love his the way he bank it off the glass too, man.
So it looks like his 2024-25 stats is a 17 points average per game, 9 rebounds per game, 2 assists, and he was shooting at a 52.6, which is 53%. I mean, his shot.
That's great. That's great for a center, man.
Yeah.
And they were showing what a good shot blocker he is as well.
Absolutely. So it looks like San Antonio had a second pick, and they picked Carter Bryant out of Arizona, University U of A. That's what they call the school, U of A.
Yeah,
I like that jacket he's got on too, man. I love that fashion. That's a cool jacket. Kind of remind me of Butch Lewis, the ex-boxing.
Oh, that dude ain't got on no shirt.
He don't have no shirt.
He ain't got. He look like Butch Lewis
now without the shirt, right?
Yeah.
Butch Lewis.
Yeah. Oh boy, look at that boy. He's got a lot of folks to hug, man.
Oh, for sure.
Going up in them.
Oh, and you know what? They're going to have draft parties tonight. A lot of these kids.
Oh, man. New York going to be off the rails, man.
I think, what time is it in New York right now? You're looking at.
It's 9:45. I mean, they got a long time.
I can promise you that they have special parties or dinners waiting on these players and their families and their friends. They're gonna be having.
Well, they probably already had parties before then. This probably jumped off last night.
Exactly.
Those parties probably started last night.
It looks like this suit is a special tailored suit that he's got on too.
Yeah.
Specially cut for him. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have one more draft pick to go, and then we'll make some closing statements on today, because I mean we basically have had a really fruitful time talking about these young men and these young multimillionaires now. You might as well add multimillionaire to their titles now, right? You got 18, 19, 20-year-olds they got more money than they can shake a stick at, as the old people used to say, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I was hoping Najee could have called in and chime in on some of this stuff too. Yeah.
You
Wow,
know, the
man.
thing, I'm thinking about maybe in the next 24 hours doing a recap, and I'll find out whether Najee can attend with us
We
doing
can do that.
you know,
We really can
the
do that. Yeah.
takeaways on what's going on today, because I know Najee knows pretty much about all of these players and a lot of their backgrounds and stuff. Carter, his name is Carter Bryant. You know, Arizona has had a historical program as well. Their coach back in the 80s, Lute Olson, he was a super damn
Yeah.
good coach, and a lot of good players came out of Arizona, including Steve Kerr. I mean, think about that. He's an Arizona alumni.
Yeah, Stan, that dude went up there and got that thing tailored down.
Oh, that's a nice suit.
He surely got that tailored down.
Yeah. It's cut right down to the T.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve Kerr was quite a player when he played at Arizona. He was one of the best guards in the West, which was the Pac 10 back
So,
then.
so who's up now? OKC's up
So it
again?
looks like OKC is up at number 15, and I want to say they gained this spot from trades.
That
Because
trade, yeah.
because
I
OKC shouldn't
also
be
thought
picking
that
this
was
high at this level.
not that high. Not that
And they
high
just
at
won
all,
the
bro.
NBA
They had to.
championship. They ain't nowhere for
Yeah,
them a
yeah,
reason.
yeah. Well, that's how they build their team, though. DC, we discussed
Yeah,
this last week,
yeah.
how they did a lot of willing and dealing to trade for these young players,
And it's pivotal,
and now they still
you
getting
know?
draft picks from it.
Yeah. And it's pivotal as well.
Well, I think the organization had a really beautiful strategic plan to see how they can bring all these enormous young players in all at the same time and get them to jail so early, and for
Mm-hmm.
them to play that hard because they got a great coach. And that was the reason why they won. I mean, I watched them play throughout the year, and very seldom until they played this last game, where if they were up 15, 20 points, you wasn't coming back, man. You were not coming back.
That's
You
right.
know,
That's right.
that's why they won the championship, because when they have you down, they had the fortitude to keep you there. You know, some
Exactly.
teams would start relaxing, and next thing you know, you hit a couple threes in a row, and then you have a couple block shots, and then some stops, and then you go back down the court and hit another three, and that 12 point will diminish quickly. But OKC have a tendency of not letting you come back in the game like that, man.
But you know what?
And
You
they got
made a
all these
very
young players.
valid point, Isaiah. Just when we spoke a few days ago about it would have really been nice to see Tyrese Halliburton not get injured and play throughout the whole game.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not taking anything away from OKC because you predicted the win, so you definitely deserve a lot of credit as well as Najee. I predicted that Indiana was going to take game 7 and it didn't work out. But since Tyrese Halliburton was injured, it just leaves a lot of question marks to me personally. I don't
yeah,
know about other people, but what could have been? Because I met some
yeah.
folks today and they said the same thing. It was just a little bit sad that Halliburton was injured, because if he would have actually survived and was able to play the entire game, who knows what could have happened, because Oklahoma City took control of the game. And
Yeah, I always felt like that, DC. I always felt like If I was playing you, I want to beat you at full strength. I don't want to
Absolutely.
beat you when you got half of your players injured. I don't want to
Absolutely.
beat you when somebody hurt. I want to beat you when you got everybody in there. You got all because it don't show, it don't prove whether you was that good or not because you
Exactly.
beat them when their best player was out. And
Absolutely.
you talking about a matter of 10 to 12 to 8 points.
Mm-hmm.
Halliburton could have made points up. I've seen him do it. I've
Absolutely.
seen him come back. I've
Absolutely.
seen him hit those,
They did it.
three
They
in a
did
row.
it the entire NBA playoffs. I
Yes,
mean, they basically
yes,
just was up against it, and they were able to overcome all different types of adversity and obstacles, and they beat
yes,
several good teams on their way there. They beat Cleveland, and then they turned around and beat New York. I mean, come on. I mean, you can't ask for a better
yeah. And I
situation than
always
that.
said, if they're gonna win a championship, it goes through Halliburton. And when Halliburton went down, I said they have no chance
It's the
because
buck starts to
the
stop
whole
with
team
Tyrese
feeds off of
Halliburton.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah, the whole team feeds off him, and then he
exactly.
goes down, and there it is. That was the end of him.
Exactly. But you know what? In hindsight, you just can't predict what may happen. It looks like OKC's pick is in.
Yeah, they were just showing segments of their parade
Thomas
and their party and
Sorba,
stuff.
Sorber, Georgetown.
Well, we hadn't heard that in a while. With Georgetown
Oh
had
yeah, I
players
haven't heard
being
a lot of
picked,
his
but
players
they seem like
being,
they fell off the
coming out of
map, man.
Georgetown. And he's a
Yeah,
center too.
Georgetown. Yep.
He's a center.
So he's the only second. He's the only one, the second center to get picked so far.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
think Patrick Ewing was
Who
Patrick
is
Ewing was
Sorber?
Sorber. Yes.
Wow. Man, this is going to be an interesting season coming up with all these young players coming in there, and especially when you watch them in college and see how they materialize to go and play in the NBA. This is an
Absolutely.
emotional night for these kids, man. Because bro, your life is getting ready to dramatically change.
Oh, it's
Whatever
changing.
financial situation you was in,
Oh
it's
yeah.
gone.
Yep.
It's gone, man. If your
Well,
grandma was living in a hut, she ain't got to live like that no more. If your mom needed a new car, she don't need it anymore. Yep. If your little brother trying to go to college, you can pay for it. Yes. Or your sister, you can pay for it now, man.
and I mean, think about it. He's been picked by the champions, the NBA champions.
Yeah.
So who's to say
Yeah.
that
You
Oklahoma
imagine that
City,
the
OKC
play
might
got right
repeat?
in.
They could possibly
Yeah.
repeat. I mean, with the talent level that they have.
They're so young. That's what we
Absolutely.
people don't understand. Their team is super young, so they could
Absolutely.
have a dynasty right there in the making. They could have a dynasty in the making because the team is so young. And the thing is, all of them are under decent contracts where you just you're not gonna break the team apart. You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it looks like Thomas Sorber. He averaged 15 points a game, 9 rebounds, about
Oh
three
man, he's
assists a game, and he was a
they
53% field goal shooter. I mean, think about that.
they showing highlights and he's slapping balls in the
Oh
stands,
yeah,
man. He's a good shot blocker as well.
the Georgetown Warriors. Man, can you remember those times with Georgetown with those great teams that Georgetown had back in the day?
Yes. When Ewing and Mourning and all those
Oh
guys was there, yes, I do remember.
yeah, it's insane the type of teams that Georgetown had back in that time. It's just amazing.
Yeah, because they was reloading every year. They had a great coach. They was reloading every year with Thompson
It was
there.
like three teams in the Big East back then were super dominant.
Yeah.
Georgetown was one of them. Then you had St. John's,
North
which is Mark
Carolina.
Jackson,
North Carolina too.
and North
North
Carolina. Well,
Carolina.
North Carolina was
Yeah.
in the ACC, but they were on the East Coast
I'm
too.
just
Yeah.
talking about the teams that was good in that
Oh
era.
yeah.
In that era.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you look at St. John, some of those games, and then you look at Villanova with Raleigh Massimino and Syracuse,
Yeah.
the Syracuse teams that played, they had some hell of a teams in the Big East back then, man. And for this kid to come along and play now and follow in such a traditional footstep of a school like Georgetown, which basketball was everything at Georgetown. I don't
Oh
think
yeah,
they had a
yes.
football team back then.
I've never heard of anything football wise over
No,
there, but
they
the
don't. I don't think
basketball
they have a
team
football
carried
team. It was
everything.
just all
Yeah,
basketball.
it carried everything. The basketball team carried everything. The, usually a football team carry all the other sports, but with Georgetown, their basketball team did it all. Because I know a lot of these schools are banking on their football team doing well because it takes care of all the other athletics with
Yep,
swimming and golf and badminton and everything else.
that's
The
right.
football team carries it all.
So here is some of the notable names from Georgetown: Patrick Ewing, need I say more? Alonzo Mourning, need I say more?
Yep.
Allen Iverson, need I say more?
Yep.
And other notable players, Reggie Williams. I don't know whether you remember Reggie Williams. He was a guard. And then they had Eric Sleepy Floyd. You remember Sleepy Floyd, right?
Yeah, the droopy
Yeah.
eyes. Yeah.
And then they had Dikembe Mutombo. He played
Yep.
for Georgetown.
Yeah.
Man,
Who since passed away.
they had some damn good players back. David Wingate. I remember David Wingate. He was a damn good player as well. So yeah, man, it's just been amazing this draft up until this point. Um, we just witnessed history tonight, Isaiah. We witnessed true history and a tradition of young men following in the footsteps of the NBA that's been around for 80 years, you know, and it just keeps getting better and better and better. And we're gonna follow it, and we're gonna be in depth with it. We're gonna be sitting at some of these games. I'm looking forward to it. And we're gonna be doing a lot of big things coming up into the next season for the NBA, because we're rolling into football season now, which is summer camps open next month. And by the way, I just learned that the Rams is going to be actually training at Loyola Marymount University, which is over in Marina Del Rey. So that's not far at all. So I'll be over there covering the Rams. And I know you're going to cover the Dolphins since you don't live far where their training facility is.
Yeah,
And
we're doing the
Najee's going to be
Dolphins
covering
in Jacksonville. We're
in
gonna do
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville and
Okay.
also in Tampa. Yeah.
And Tampa, exactly. So we have a lot of really good things in store for our viewers and our fans, and we're ecstatic about it. We just want you to keep grinding with us, because we're grinding it out, and we're gonna grind it all the way to the top. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We'll be doing a recap on this, and Najee will more likely be joining us for that. So we'll be covering a lot of what we talked about today, some of the players, how they fit in to certain schemes with these teams and everything. And we appreciate everything from you, the viewer. Thank you for joining us. I'll have Isaiah close it out for us, and we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, man, this was a beautiful night, man. I enjoyed so much to watch these little kids become millionaires, man, because I can recall when I was young and played sports, and to see these kids start out when they were 6 or 7 years old, because they showed so many clippings when these little kids first started bouncing a ball, just learning how to bounce the ball and handle the ball, and all of a sudden now they're in the NBA. So, and the beautiful part of it, they are able to take care of their families. That's the most gratifying part about it to me. When you can take care of your family, support yourself, and do the right thing and be a good model citizens. You don't get any better than that. But covering this stuff is like been a lifelong dream of me and DC. We've been friends since we were like 4 years old, and now we're working together doing something that we absolutely love. We got Najee involved, which is out tonight, but we're gonna be over in Tampa and Jacksonville, partnering up, doing some stuff over there with the Jaguars and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But you guys continue to watch us, man. We loving what we're doing. We're traveling and having a good time at it. So tell your friends, your family members, your work colleagues that we're on the DC Stewart Podcast featuring Isaah and Najee. And you guys have a pleasant, safe weekend. So take care of your family and friends.
Absolutely. And follow us on our other social media. I mean, we have a lot of good content on all of our social media. If you want to visit us at our website, that's www.dcstewartpodcast.com. You can always see our content over there. We have an Instagram where we have tons of content over there. We have Facebook, and we're expanding out. I mean, we're looking to expand to some other social media platforms, and that's in the plan. And just make sure you comment and let us know how things are going. We want to hear from you. So comment, hit that like button, and we'll do it again very soon. So take care of yourself first before you can take care of anybody else. Because if you don't take care of yourself, how can you take care of anybody else? And once you take care of yourself, you're going to be able to help other people. And that's the key right there. So take care, be safe, and we'll see you again soon.
You've reached the end of another episode of the DC Stewart Sports Talk Podcast. Be sure to connect with us at Facebook and Twitter.com. Your voice is important, so head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. Catch our next episode.